Have you ever noticed something frustrating? You play freely in training. You dominate small-sided games. You pull off skills without thinking. But then a big match arrives. A trial, a final, a rivalry game, a match where coaches are watching, a tournament where an entire country is watching, and suddenly you look like a different player. Your touch gets heavier. Your decisions get slower. Simple passes become difficult. You stop taking risks. You stop playing like yourself. And after the match, the worst part isn't losing. It's knowing that's not what you're capable of. You walk away thinking, why does my best football disappear when it matters most? Ask that question about the USMNT and you'll hear the same theories every time. Not fit enough. Not tough enough. Not experienced enough at this level. None of those explanations really hold up when you look at the players individually. Most of them handle far more pressure every week for their clubs. So the theories are probably wrong. The actual mechanism is something almost nobody explains properly. Most players answer that question incorrectly. They think they need more confidence, more motivation, more courage. But what if the real problem isn't confidence at all? What if the pressure of big matches isn't exposing weakness? It's exposing dependence? Because the players who perform in the biggest moments aren't fearless. They've simply built a game that survives pressure. And that's what we're talking about today. Why your football changes when the stakes rise. Why bigger matches make average players disappear. And how top performers stay consistent when everyone else falls apart. Because the goal isn't to become a different player under pressure. The goal is to become the same player everywhere. Training, league games, finals, trials, big moments included. Let's get into it. The first thing most players misunderstand is what pressure actually does. Pressure doesn't create problems. It reveals them. Think about it. A weak bridge doesn't collapse because the truck appeared. The truck simply exposed a weakness that was already there. Football pressure works the same way. When a match becomes important, your brain starts operating differently. You become more aware of consequences, more aware of mistakes, more aware of who's watching, more aware of what could go wrong, and suddenly your attention shifts. Instead of focusing on the game, you're focusing on yourself. That's where performance begins to drop. Because football rewards players who solve problems on the pitch, not players who constantly monitor themselves. Watch young players during trials. They're not scanning. They're not reading the game. They're thinking, don't mess up. Coach is watching. Make this count. Don't lose the ball. Their attention has left the match. And once that happens, decision-making gets slower. Movement becomes reactive. Everything feels rushed. Not because football changed, because focus changed. That's the first hidden cause. Big matches turn your attention inward. Great performers keep it outward. Now here's the second reason your football disappears in important games. You start protecting instead of playing. This is one of the most damaging mental shifts in football. When pressure rises, many players stop trying to succeed and start trying not to fail. That sounds similar, but the difference is enormous. Imagine you're a winger. Normally, you'd attack the fullback, take him on, create danger. But in a big match, you play the safe pass backwards, again and again and again. Not because it's the best option, because it feels safer. Or imagine you're a midfielder. Usually you'd play forward quickly, break lines, find dangerous spaces. But under pressure, you choose the obvious pass every time. You avoid responsibility. You become invisible. Here's what's happening. Your brain is trying to protect your reputation, but football rewards players who influence games, not players who avoid mistakes. The irony? The more you try to protect your performance, the worse your performance becomes. Because football isn't won by avoiding risk. It's won by managing risk intelligently. The best players still lose balls, still make mistakes, still get things wrong, but they never stop trying to impact the match. That's why pressure often separates players into two groups. Players protecting their image, and players pursuing the game. The second group almost always performs better. This is worth sitting with for a second in the American context specifically. When a team plays in front of a home crowd that's still building its football culture, Every misplaced pass can feel like it's being judged twice, once as a football mistake, once as evidence for or against the sport itself. That's an unfair second layer of weight, and it pushes players straight into protection mode. The fix isn't asking players to care less. It's separating the two things they're carrying. Now let's go deeper, because there's another reason your football disappears when the stakes rise. And this one starts long before match day. Most players train under perfect conditions. No consequences, no pressure, no unpredictability, no emotional stress. Then they're shocked when they struggle in competitive environments. Think about what training often looks like. You know the drill. You know the pattern. You know where the pass is going. You know when the exercise starts. You know when it ends. Everything feels controlled. Then match day arrives, and football becomes chaos. Defenders are pressing. Crowds are shouting. The score matters. Mistakes have consequences. The environment changes completely. Yet players expect their performance to stay identical. It doesn't work like that, because skills aren't enough. Your skills must survive stress. That's a different challenge. A player who can complete 10 perfect passes in relaxed training isn't automatically ready to do it in the 85th minute of a final. Pressure changes execution, which means training should occasionally include pressure too. Competition, time limits, consequences, decision-making speed, score tracking, situations where mistakes actually matter. Because if pressure only exists on match day becomes unfamiliar, and unfamiliar situations create anxiety. The players who look calm aren't always naturally confident. They're often more familiar with pressure. That's a huge difference. Now let's talk about the biggest mistake of all. And honestly, this is where many talented players get stuck for years. They attach their identity to performance. Here's what that means. Before a big match, they're not just trying to play well. They're trying to prove something. To coaches, to teammates, to parents, to opponents, to themselves. Every action suddenly carries meaning. A bad touch means they're not good enough. A missed chance means they're a failure. A poor game means all their hard work was wasted. When football becomes a judgment of your value, pressure becomes unbearable. Because now you're protecting more than performance. You're protecting identity. That's exhausting, and it creates fear. The players who thrive in big moments think differently. They don't see matches as verdicts. They see them as opportunities to compete. That's it. One match doesn't define them. One mistake doesn't define them. One performance doesn't define them. Because their identity isn't hanging on every touch. That freedom changes everything. It allows them to stay present, to recover from mistakes faster, to remain aggressive, to stay connected to the game. The moment football becomes a test of your worth, your performance usually drops. The moment football becomes a challenge to solve, performance improves. Now let's make this practical. How do you actually perform better when the stakes are high? Here's a framework you can use immediately. Rule number 1. Shrink the match. Most players make big matches bigger. They think about winning trophies, impressing scouts, getting selected, proving themselves. That's too much. Instead, focus on the next action, the next scan, the next movement, the next duel, the next pass. Elite performers reduce complexity. They don't play the entire match in their heads. They play the moment in front of them. Rule number 2. Build a process target, not an outcome target. Before matches, stop focusing on things like goals, assists, or being man of the match. Focus on controllable actions. Maybe it's scanning before receiving, communicating constantly, pressing aggressively, making supporting runs, winning second balls. These are actions you control, and focusing on controllable actions naturally reduces pressure. Rule number 3. Expect mistakes. This sounds simple, but it's powerful. Many players enter big matches hoping for perfection, then panic after one error. The best performers expect mistakes. They know they're coming. So when they happen, recovery is immediate. No emotional collapse. No frustration spiral. No disappearing from the game. Just reset and move forward. Rule number 4. Create pressure in training. Compete. Keep score. Add consequences. Challenge yourself. make training uncomfortable sometimes. Because confidence isn't built by avoiding pressure. It's built by surviving pressure repeatedly. And finally, rule number 5. Trust the version of you that already exists. Most players enter important matches trying to become better than they are. More skilled, more confident, more special. That's impossible. The match isn't the time to become a different player. The match is the time to express the player you've already built. Trust your preparation. Trust your habits. Trust your training. The goal isn't to rise above your level. It's to access it. And that's where we'll finish. The biggest matches don't reveal who has the most talent. They reveal who can access their talent when pressure arrives. Because talent isn't rare. You've seen talented players everywhere. Training grounds, academies, school teams, local leagues. The USMNT player pool included, nobody credible questions the talent anymore. What separates the careers that break through internationally from the ones that stall is what happens to that talent in the moments the whole country is watching. Talent alone doesn't separate careers. Consistency does. The ability to bring your real football into difficult moments. The ability to stay connected to the game when emotions rise. The ability to compete instead of protect. That's what coaches trust. That's what wins matches. And that's what creates players who seem calm when everyone else is panicking. So the next time a big match arrives, stop asking, "What if I fail?" Stop asking, "What will people think?" Stop asking, "Can I handle this?" Instead ask, "What does the game need right now?" Because pressure becomes smaller the moment your attention returns to football. And when your attention returns to football, your real level finally has room to appear. If you want to become the player who performs when it matters most, not just when it's easy, subscribe to the channel. Because that's exactly what football's system is built for. See you in the next one.